Now, 2 Kings chapter 4, we have the story there from verse 8 of the Shunammite woman. And I know you know this story. In verse 8, 2 Kings chapter 4, one day, Elisha is a prophet, went to Shunem. And a well-to-do basically means a wealthy woman was there who urged him to stay for a meal. So whenever he came by, he stopped there to eat. So notice just here from the very beginning, here is a woman, a wealthy woman. She welcomes the prophet in the name of a prophet. So what does she do? Whenever the guy comes to town, she would welcome him and say, stop by, come and eat, because Elisha was a traveling prophet. So he would come to Shunem, and every time he came to Shunem, he knew at least he would get a meal at this woman's home. Now then, verse 9, she said to her husband, I know that this man who often comes our way is a holy man of God. Let's make a small room on the roof and put in it a bed, a table, a chair, and a lamp for him. Then he can stay there whenever he comes to us. So after maybe several days or several occasions, when Elisha has come into town and they have fed him, then something just grips her, and she says, why don't we just do something more? She goes to her husband and says, let's build a small room. And the small room is what I'm actually referring to as a prophet's chamber. Let's build a prophet's chamber. A place where the man of God, now remember, she's a wealthy woman, so she's not building a guest room. Are you with me? She's not building a guest house. She's not building a lodging where he can come and pay. This is not an Airbnb. Are you with me? She's building specifically a prophet's chamber for the exclusive use of Elisha. And she puts in there a bed, a chair, a table, and a lamp. So that whenever Elisha comes to town, whenever he comes on his preaching itinerary, he knows he can stay in her house without any charge, and she will provide for him, and the man doesn't have to worry about lodging anywhere else. But why is she doing that? Because what this woman has discovered is that Elisha is a holy man. He's a prophet. So you know what she's done? Without even realizing it, she has welcomed the prophet in the name of the prophet. She has welcomed him, and she's about to receive a prophet's reward. So notice, and she's not doing this because she's asking for anything. We shall see that in just a short while. So one day when Elisha came, he went up to his room and laid there. Notice even how this is reported. He went up to his room as if that is his house. If you came to my house and say, I'm coming to my room, it's like, there's a room that is designated for you. So he went up to his room and lay down there. He said to his servant Gehazi, call the Shunammite. So he called her, and she stood before him. Elisha said to him, tell her, you have gone to all this trouble for us. Now, what can be done for you? Can we speak on your behalf to the king or the commander of the army? She replied. Notice her response. She says, I have a home among my own people. Notice. Because Elisha suddenly feels, this woman has done so much. She has whatever she has done is so sacrificial. So he says, please ask her. Can we maybe speak on her behalf, to the king or the commander of the army? In other words, it's a test. I mean, it's like, and I'm sure Elisha was not doing this, but it's almost like a test for the woman. But look at her response. She says, I have a home among my own people. In other words, I was not doing this for political reasons. Are you with me? I was not doing this to get any particular favor from anybody. I was not doing this so that I can receive anything from you. I'm not asking it. This is for free. This is not, I'm not putting any demand on you as a man of God. I am just doing this because I want to do it. Unfortunately, in our time, it is so difficult to find people who will just do something just because they have a conviction of doing it. Or in our day and age, do you know a lot of times with too many of us as Christians nowadays, is that sometimes the only time people will do something sacrificial is when they have been promised that something will come back to them. Have you noticed that? That's how we have become as a society. We have so commercialized the gospel And sometimes it saddens my heart. We have so commercialized the preaching of the gospel that the only time people want to give anything is only because they believe they are going to receive something in return. And unfortunately, much also to our shame as preachers in this city, and I thank God it doesn't happen here in CITAM, but so many of the preaching that you see nowadays on TV and all over the place is all about money, money, money. Everybody wanting to get a piece of the action. And people giving, and they don't give sincerely, but they give because the man or the prophet, the quote unquote, the prophet has said that your pesa ikiingia tu kwa M-Pesa saa hizi, kesho utapokea maradufu. And then Monday comes, nothing happens. Because God cannot be mocked. God is not our cousin. God, you cannot manipulate God with 1,000,000 shillings, my brother, my sister. Are you with me? We cannot manipulate God. But that's the kind of culture that we have in the church today. But that's not to say that God doesn't bless his people. It is all about the motive. So this woman, she says, listen, I have a home among my people. I'm in need of nothing. I was not doing this so that you may do something for me. So, verse 14, what can be done for her? Elisha asked. So Gehazi said, now notice, so now because they can't get her to respond to anything, so Elisha turns to Gehazi and says, what can be done for her? And then Gehazi said, well, she has no son. And her husband is old. Double tragedy. She has no child. And when I look at the husband, there's no hope. Then Elisha said, now notice, please keep this in your mind. This woman did not even mention to Elisha that she has no son. Are you with me? She did not mention to Gehazi, I have no son. She's a woman who seems to be content in her condition. Then Elisha said, call her. So he called her and she stood in the doorway. And then look at Elisha. Elisha was, these Old Testament prophets who did not have too much of protocol and all those kind of things. When the word of the Lord was upon them, they would just speak it as it is. So he just looks at her. She's standing there in the doorway. And he says, about this time next year, you will hold a son in your arms. And she objects. She says, no, my Lord. She objects. Don't mislead your servant, O man of God. But the woman became pregnant. And the next year, about that same time, she gave birth to a son, just as Elisha had told her. Now the child grew. Now notice. So now she's received something that she had not asked for. Why? If she had not welcomed Elisha to her home, I bet you this woman and her husband will never have had the joy of having a son. But because she welcomed him into her home, she set herself up to receive a prophet's reward. When she built that prophet's chamber, she did not have it in mind that something good will come out of. All she wanted was to be part of what God was doing in her city, in her community. She had not planned. Let me tell you this, friends. There are blessings that come our way not because we prayed for them. Me, I want to receive a prophet's reward. I don't want to pray for everything that I want to receive. I want some blessings to just come and catch me by surprise. Do I have anybody in the house? Some blessings that I cannot account for. Some promotions that I cannot account for. Some money in the account that I cannot account for. Some breakthroughs I cannot account for. But simply because I received a prophet in the name of a prophet.